I'll be your trainer for the electronic billing worksheets. And this will be about 45 minutes to an hour call today. Again, my name is Jennifer Broadwater. I am one of the trainers at Workamajig. And we're basically going to go over what you see on my screen, hopefully, is the agenda for today. Now, before we get started with going through today's agenda, we just have to give you a little background information. During the call, after each section, I should probably, or hopefully will remember to ask you if you have questions. If I do have a question that I don't know how to answer for some reason, you can always send it to support@workamajig.com and we can get you further information. In addition, there is an entire help guide devoted to this at support.workamajig.com is our help guide. Hopefully you're all familiar with that by now. Let me see. And you would just go to, this is our help guide, and I think you just look up billing worksheets. I don't think that you need the electronic part anymore. So there should be the whole overview. So you would start over with the overview, and it will take you through all the sections of how to do these. But I'm going to go over most of this information today with you anyways, but it is good to note that you can look this up afterwards. So welcome everyone. And let me just go back to this main page. So before I get started on that, again, we do have a area, I guess, on when you guys do this that you can, ask questions, which I already see someone's asking questions. And if I get to my Zoom correctly, I can go ahead and see the questions if there are any. Oh, it looks like there's not any anymore. Okay, but as we go through here, you guys could just feel free to ask questions after each section. And I'll get started now. So electronic billing worksheet started out of a need for, in the old days, if you guys have been around a while, you would probably once a month, maybe twice a month, depending on your process, maybe I've had a few people say every day, but every once in a while you would be having someone that is a account manager or a project manager. Why is that? Can anyone hear? Oh, can you guys hear me? I should just say that first. There is a person, Jim Peru, that cannot hear. If you can hear, thank you very much. Then raise your hand, I guess. Okay, thank you. Sorry to stop that. I think that Jim, you may need to like hop off and hop back on. All right, now I forgot what I was saying. Anyways, so in the old days, you might have an account manager, project manager once a month or so. Give your billing person or billing manager a list of items that need to be billed. And I'm sorry about the background noise of the police. And then they would you would write up something that says, bill this amount, on this project, or write off this amount. Well, we've made that what we call electronically done inside of Workamajig, so that would hopefully ease your process. 1 second. Got it. All right. Thank you, Jim. I just want to make sure I check on, if I don't check on it right away, it's because I'm just not to that part yet. Anyways, so today we're going to learn about how can we do this. So most of you guys, I'm going to be going through as the billing manager who will actually initiate this process, and then also as an account manager, that is the person that is deciding what needs to be billed and what doesn't need to be billed. So the workflow is really the first and most important thing, is you need to have it set up correctly, which will go over the background, and kind of it's going to be different for each of you. Some of you may say I bill every month, and some people say I bill every day. So whichever you guys do is absolutely fine. It's the process of getting it from one department basically to another department without having to handwrite it or send it in an email or whatever you guys have been doing before. Now I'm going to go into my account and start with the security settings. Oops, where am I? There I am. Okay, so the first thing to note is, when we talk about billing, a lot of my clients, and if this is you, go directly to their project, current process, go into whatever project it is, go down to billing and bill that project that they need to bill, right? That's easy. Then as you get into Workamajig a little bit more, we have the billing page, right? And a lot of people will come over here and they will bill, here's my fixed fees that need to be billed, here's my retainers, you know, like you'll have stuff to bill over here and you kind of want to do it in mass so it doesn't take you so long. So that's usually step 2. Now, what does billing worksheets that we're talking about today have that nobody else has, or nothing else is able to generate? What it's able to do, and it's fantastic, is able to take a mix of fixed fees, retainers, all of these things can be generated on one invoice per client, which you can't do any other way. You'd have to have them separated. So this allows you to generate a custom bill to your client with just one client, and then all of the projects or the campaigns underneath it, regardless if it's fixed fee, regardless if it's a campaign or if it's a retainer. So that's kind of the point of the billing worksheets to begin with. So I just wanted to let you know, the ease of doing this is really just to get it all together. And if you've tried this, it does take a couple of times. Don't worry. You won't, on the first try that you do it, it's kind of complicated at first, but it would take you, after you do it a couple of times, it's like the only way to go, because it just simplifies your process and makes it clearer, and everything is kept inside the worksheet so you can refer to later, meaning I can always come down and see any billing worksheet in the views area over here, and I can be like, okay, I need to go back in time and see what does this worksheet look like, and it can, well, not there. When I click in the middle of the line, I can see the worksheet and what projects were done. So it is a good way to keep everything and see who approved what and who did what. And that's kind of the point of it. So back end, we're going to talk about security settings, because this is naturally the first place we go to, because if you don't set this up right, things can go bad. Let's see, everybody's on here still. Okay, and 2 attendees on here. Thank you. Okay. Oh, hold on one moment. I just want to lower your hand. Lower hand. Okay, because I was getting confused thinking you guys still had things to say. All right, so starting off with the admin manager, if you do have access to you do have to have access to the system setup to go ahead and set these up. In the system setup, we have security settings. Oh, place you've never been before, right? Not. Okay, so in the security settings, it's approve. I think we can type in that, and you would be able to approve billing, add and edit client invoices. Is one of the 2 things that we need to say. You would be able to need to add and edit invoices in order to do this. And I think there might be one more. I shouldn't say it like that. There was delete worksheets and remove items for worksheets, and add transactions to worksheets. So these are all to do with the billing worksheets, and you might need to be able to report on the billing worksheet. So just note that these are things that you would need in order to go ahead and get started with these items. So just all you have to do is find whatever group you're in, if you are the admin, and make sure that you have access to do this. Now, this does not need to be for your AEs or project managers. They can say, hey, this is what I want to bill, but not be the person to actually add the client invoice, right? So this would not be for the AE. This would be for the billing manager. Typically, the process is you don't want them approving it. You want it going back to the billing manager after they assess what should be billed, and then the worksheet gets actually approved and generated the invoice by the billing manager. So that's pretty much in the back end of what things that you would need to get that started. All right, now one of the most important things is how, like I just said a few minutes ago, we want to be able to, well, most of you can do it different ways. We'll want to be able to generate a worksheet for your client, and there's client setup that we need to take a look at. So your clients, if you forgot, are in billing, in clients, and we'll just take a look at one that we're going to work on today. And what we're talking about is this section here for billing. So it's important that we go over to the defaults for your billing. And when we talk about this and being able to generate worksheets, well, a couple things. One, you should actually have an AR account in there, but mine doesn't. That's okay. But where was I going? You probably will need to have an invoice template already set up for your client, but that's really not this call, but you should have that in there anyways. But the billing method, typically, you want to put the billing method for your client that you use most often, set it there. But this is what the area for the billing worksheets. You really want to have a generation. Well, it's up to you guys, but you can do one invoice per project, one invoice per client, parent, client, division, product, campaign. If you choose one invoice per client, it's when we start working on these worksheets, then you will be able to group those all together under one client. And then you will have, like, you can do one line per, this is just the setup that most people do, one line per project. Like, here's my client and here's each one, but you have the different setups that you can do, and it can be on billing worksheets. If you're using a fixed fee, there is options in here to do the fixed fee different than you would on a time and materials. Maybe you want to set it out by service and item. I'll just change that so you can see what that looks like in a few. You can include retainer clients on worksheets. If you'd like to automatically include the retainer, this is kind of like, usually on retainers, you kind of want to bill them separately in most cases, because that's like your ongoing $2,000 a month for whatever client, a set amount, and it should be on a separate sheet. But you can, if you'd like to, include them here. So you can have any variation of setups over here, but this is important because when we get to actually generating the worksheets, they will look different. If I was just, I would get a whole bunch of worksheets if I did one invoice per project, right? I would get a whole bunch of individual setup for the invoices would be individual versus all together. So again, and then there's this additional, this is a newer, to add a top project line. I'll go ahead and check that, and so you guys can see that later. So that section is really the back end of how to get set up for each one of your clients and how you want them to be generated. But I would just say, I can't give you best case, like which one is the most, preferred, but I would say most of my clients go with one invoice per client or parent client, and then per project underneath it with one line on each project. All right, so that is the security settings and the client setup. All right, so what you should note before, also, when we talk about the projects and what's going to generate what you can see, I do want to mention one thing. If you have a billing schedule, billing worksheets adheres to that schedule. So what I mean in here, and you'll take a look at what this will be. So this is a fixed fee with a schedule. If you guys are using in billing schedules to determine when you want that to generate for the amounts. So this 1318 is half of this, and it's going to generate on today. So I will, when I actually generate a worksheet in a few minutes, it's only going to generate it for this amount. It's not going to generate it for the entire amount of this fixed fee. It's going to look at the billing schedule. So that will hold truth on all projects or campaign budget. If you're going by campaigns with a billing schedule, it also adheres to that rule also. So just note, if you use that, great. Now also, we'll take a look at one other thing while we're over here. Most of the time, your setup is going to go, when we do this, it's going to go to your account manager when we do, when we go ahead and generate this in a few minutes. Your account manager is typically set up at whoever opens the project usually becomes the account manager, unless you have that set by the client, which you can. And you have a choice, you can change it at any time. So just note that when I do this today, I'm going to be Audrey Hepburn, and I'm going to be the person approving. So just that's where that comes from. And you might have the billing person on here also, but it kind of just depends if you have multiple billers or not. All right, so any questions so far? Because that was just the, all right, no far. As I just was also talking about the campaign settings. So let me see where my campaigns, just a note so you guys can kind of have a visual before I actually do this. I made 2 campaigns for them and I can't remember which one's which. So we'll just take a look. So you'll have options of how this will generate is either going to be using a campaign budget and bill by campaign. We're going to have an option to do that when we do a worksheet. Or if you were going to switch it to bill by project, it doesn't look at the campaign. It just goes out and bills the projects when I do this. So that's one way. The other option also is, it's in this one, if you just bill by campaign without using the campaign budget, this is going to derive in a little bit different area, which I'll show you also. So, you can use a campaign budget. You can even then have a billing schedule. So if you use a campaign budget, then you can create a billing schedule for that. So this is the kind of like, and then how do I want to generate this? This is at the campaign level. You have a lot of options on how to do this. Like I just want one line. Do you want one line per project, billing item, project billing item, or task? So how do I want to set this up? I'm going to keep it simple today and not bring in a whole bunch of complications. So we're just going to keep one line per project for that. All right, so let's get to the, did I change something? Not even sure. We'll just save that and say yes. All right, so now we're going to get to the meat of this whole thing, so that we're going over already to the workflow. All right, so the workflow is, it's that time of month to bill, and I need to go to my billing tab, to my today billing. And in here may be a ton of stuff that you can do, but we're going to talk about the billing worksheets. So the first thing to note is this does nothing as far as if you make a mistake and you pulled in the wrong things, you can just go out and redo it. It does not hurt anything, but we're going to talk about these settings right now and why we have it already set up a certain way, and you can change it based on, what you want to do. So again, usually it's looking at the through date, because I had that billing schedule, so it's going to default to today's date. But if you want to go by posting date instead of invoice date, you can switch this here, and the review date will automatically set for tomorrow. If you want to, when it's due back from, if you want to give your, them a little bit longer to get back after you send out a worksheet to the AE, then you can change that there. So again, you can change your through date to that. Now the production transactions, we already preset them with what we think obviously is the best practices, but you can do any sort of items. Why? And I'm just going to talk about a couple of them. So, like, why am I including 0 amounts on time and materials? To make sure I can generate this worksheet and I can look to see if there's unapproved time transactions. The 0 amounts just means that hey, what if I generate this worksheet and I have that included, and then I can look and see, hey, did somebody not approve timesheets and I needed to get those approved? That's the time that you would want to use this on here. Same with this one as zero unbilled fixed fee. There was also mark time and material as billed, mark TM. This is all often checked for a lot of my clients, mark the time and material 0 as billed. Sometimes there's nothing that generates, but you want to just show that it does. I mean, you could check that. It's odd. It's an odd one. You don't usually include your purchase orders or expense reports. I mean, that's something that you would typically not be billing your purchase orders or expense reports until they actually became vendor invoices. So typically you'd be billing the actual vendor invoice, not the pre stuff that happens, right? And sometimes you might include the open orders only if you'd want to. I probably would take that off personally. And then media. Usually media is a whole nother ball of wax, and you normally don't bill your media in with your regular worksheets, but you could if you wanted to. But they're going to have a lot of lines and there's a lot of detail that's included in insertion orders and broadcast orders. And this would be a whole nother call for me to go over this with you. So for today, I'm not going to include those. So I don't even think I have any set up. Now, on this side, this is just what things do I want to choose? For today, I'm not going to make everything confusing, so I'm just going to go with the flash, because you can pick, if I don't pick something here, it's going to pick up everything. And then it would be this big long spew of $244,000 of stuff plus all this. Anyways, so you don't need to do that, but you can, these are just your filters of what am I looking for when I do this. I can look for a specific account manager or just all the account managers for all the different projects if I want to. I'm pretty sure my account manager is just one, so I don't have to change that. And then this is important to note because the approver, actually I should have changed this, it should be the account manager or the project manager. Actually, no, this is correct. The approver is the person after you create the worksheet, and then it goes out, it goes back to the billing person, and it could also be the account manager. So this is kind of a setup thing also. And then for the campaign is this, if I want to have a campaign. Do I want to include overhead clients? Most of the time, yes. Only because if you accidentally, you want to still mark, you have overhead clients and there might be time spent on that. At this point, you could bring in those transactions and then mark them as billed so they're not just sitting out there, even though you're not billing yourself. So a lot of times people will include your overhead clients. So basically a lot of choices on this page, but the whole main point of this, oh, let me see, is there anything important in here? Yeah. Oh, you could change that default to like 2 if you want to. And select invoice date or the post. Which one do you want to go by? I have invoice date. It's connected to this, but you could change it to posting date. Oops. And then which one of these? So these are just the default settings that you can set for a company default or individuals. So whichever you would like to do. I think I just changed one little thing on there. All right. So now we're at the point where we're going to look for what's available. So the first thing to note is I can just hit search. Wait for it. All right. So we have some stuff to bill, which is good. As it goes through here, it's going to tell me I have not selected anything. The 0 refers to each section of what I have out there to bill. And then I have until I click this, then it turns that into a 1. So I can go through here and be like, well, I need this. And then I need all of these, which, I want to bill these. So it's going to tell you, what's on build, what's to bill. It's going to give you this information ahead of time. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you, like, if I went through here, and I just want to show you how easy it is to do and then redo if you make a mistake. I don't have any retainers. So after you pick the things, 1, 1, 3, 3. So I picked everything and I hit generate. That's it, right? Immediately, I come out of this page and those shoot off to, I don't know, whoever that person was that was, but they go into worksheets and review. And if I open this up, I will see those worksheets that are in review that just went out to the people that need to do it. So if I made a mistake at this point, I could just come over here and collect them all up and hit delete. And it's like nothing ever happened. Like you just regenerate those things, right? So right now they went out to the appropriate people that needed to do them. And actually, now I'm going to check and make sure that they got to the right people so that we can go through the rest of this process, which should be over in this area. And second. Yeah, I think I did this backwards. Hold on 1 second. So, oops. Let me go back to this. I accidentally sent them out to Hugh Jackman instead of the person that I was supposed to be sending it to. So that's okay. We can go through this anyways with that because let me just sign in as him. Just one moment. I'm going to stop sharing just for a second. Just have to switch users, so bear with me. All right, back to this is fine. And share screen. All right, guys, I've now signed in as the appropriate person. Okay. Yes, Brian, I could have just reassigned the worksheet. That would have been the smart answer. Thank you. Thank you, both of you. But I decided to just take it this route because that's how it was set up. All right. So the person, what happens is he will get an email usually, or it will be in his bell, depending on your setup. It could be an email that says he has a worksheet, but most likely it's in his bell also. And he'll come over here and go, oh, there's worksheets to review. What should I do? I probably should review them. So here's all the things that I sent to Hugh a few minutes ago. And you'll notice on here that there is master worksheets and there's regular worksheets. So depending on your setup, the master may not actually go to the same person that is Hugh. It may actually be sent to a different, your billing approver instead. But this is really just encompasses the items below it. So if you have one invoice per client and you have multiple projects, there will be created a master on here, which is sometimes kind of confusing, but don't let it confuse you. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at each one of these. So what does the person do? I mean, typically, I mean, you wouldn't want to do this, but you could just come here and approve them. No, let's not do that. Let's actually look at the things first. And we'll take a look at time and material and then fixed fees also, and then we'll go look at the campaigns also that will be going through Spicy Ginger, I think. Anyways, so we're going to go in. And what do? When you click on it first, it kind of like opens up and it's kind of, to me, it's like you need to take it a step further and you actually need to view the details. So yes, at this point, I could still approve it, but it's really not giving me any information at this point. So you really want to click on the view details for each worksheet. The view details is going to tell you what was to be billed, what's remaining to be billed, and what was the budget if you have an approved estimate. So on this one, before I start making comments or moving it to other people and doing all that, we're just going to take a look at, hey, what's to be billed? And we're just going to click on it. So the person that is doing this should be looking at, oh, well, what's to be billed? We're billing time and materials. So I should be looking at the actuals and making sure that this is what was correct or not correct. So as soon as I actually look at this and I'm like, I'm not sure that this is right, or I need to make changes to it, again, clicking on this middle, somewhere in the middle of the line will expand it. And you can make crazy changes if you'd like. You can change the rates, the gross, the hours, whatever you want. You can edit and make comments. So it's one of the things you could do. You can change the service. Each of these, mistakes happen, right? I can split this and write it off if I need to through the line. Or I can just take the line and I can make some decisions up here. So I'm going to go through and explain these different types of decisions because some of them are a little bit confusing. This one's not. Transfer. What do you do here? I'm transferring it because I messed up and Drew Barrymore put her stuff on the wrong project. And you can just come over here and decide what project it should go to and what date. And if there needs to be a comment that the billing manager sees to say, hey, I'm transferring this to another project, they have the final say after that. So if they don't want it transferred to another project, they could deny this, but this is your AE saying, yeah, this should have been on another project. So that's the easy one. Do not bill. That one is, I don't want to bill this time, but it's going to just be marked as do not bill it right now, but I can bill it the next time it comes in. What happened? I'm reading a question from Kristen. What happens if someone transfers the transaction to a project that is already approved on that worksheet? Ooh, good question, because that sounds like you can't have that item would come up for if that as there's a little section. That's a very good question. There's a little section that you can add other transactions to an open worksheet. It's on the bottom right, and I might be able to show that to you in a few minutes. But there is a spot where that would be recognized as, hey, there's more transactions. I'm going to come out there and grab these transactions that just got transferred. It usually happens like for time entry. So that's a very good question because so what if somebody has some time that was entered between the date that you actually generated this worksheet and the date that you're actually working on approving this, some time entry came in, that will be in that same area. If someone transfers this time or transfers this to another project and it has an open worksheet, there will be an area where it will allow you to bring that into the other worksheet that's open. No, that sounded confusing, but yes, it can happen and it has happened. So if I did transfer this right now to another project and another project had a worksheet open, that just means that that person who was reviewing that worksheet, it hasn't been approved yet, would be able to see that transaction right waiting to be picked up on the other one. So, but very good question because I was going to skip that. Oh, back to this. Okay, so do not bill. You're not billing it now. What it does is the next time you do a billing worksheet, it comes up to be billed again. More actions. Who doesn't want more actions? Obviously, we're billing this, so we don't need to mark it as to bill. You can mark it as billed. So you did something in trade, you can just mark it as billed. Some other thing you just want to, do it some other way. Mark as billed would show up on the worksheet. Write off. Obviously, if there's something that you wanted to write off, we are able to write these things off with, whatever the reason is and put a worksheet comment on that. Oh, let me make sure I have all my questions answered. Doesn't have an open worksheet. Oh, it's okay, Kristen, if you are transferred and the project doesn't have an open worksheet, it will sit on that project until it's time to bill it, or any time that you're ready to bill. It doesn't have to have an open worksheet on it on the other one. All right, back to this. Other ones, mark on hold. This stays on hold. It doesn't go. So if you put something on hold, it does not come up next month for you to bill again until you take it off hold. So it's kind of, watch, it kind of like disappears if I just like do this mark as hold. Oops, where is it? It's all gone, right? It's in this section as marked on hold. Oops, on hold, to bill, to mark, to put on hold. Oops, if I could find it now. Well, task filter by. I should have been able to see this on here after I put it on hold. Hold on a moment. Well, I can undo that when I come back out to this other area. In any case, we're going to also be able to mark this. Oh, mark as hold. It's over here. It's in this section now. So I could do that to the other one also. All right. So in addition, the last one is this mark on hold billable is the same as do not bill. So just, this is a little confusing to a lot of clients because you're going to be able to do this or this, just use this one. Somebody wanted this. It means it's not going to come off of that hold till you go in and take it off hold. And if you want to remove it, it just removes this one, just removes it, this line from this for now, and then you can regenerate it later. So there's just different actions that you can do at this point. But when you're ready to go ahead and do this, we're ready to go ahead and say that whatever changes we want to do, we can come out here and be like, okay, so I went ahead and put this on hold, the amount, and this is the amount that I left to bill. So I need to click on here, go in here, and I can make billable again. And I can just go hit bill if I wanted to, and that amount would just come back into the billed area. So it goes away from here, and now the entire amount is to bill. Hopefully that made sense. So you're just putting things in other areas, and then if you made a mistake, you can take them off again. After that, then you can make your comments. If you guys have a process that it goes through two different people. So say that I needed to do this and then it needed to go over Mary Lou or something like that. You do have the ability to come into the worksheet settings and not just approve it, but send it to a different reviewer after that. So that's in your worksheet settings. This is what I should have done earlier today, but you can do that. And then you can also make changes. So where was that? That's in your more key here. For right now, I'm going to approve this worksheet and I'll make a comment. This looks good. Hit save and then approve. All right, so Hugh unfortunately has an option to generate invoices, which we're not going to have him do because we want this to be generated back by the other person that we're using today. But that's the process. So we'll go through. There is the masters on a couple of these. I'm going to go through the fixed fee because it's different. And I'll also be going through campaign. So on the fixed fee one, there's not much you can do on fixed fee, honestly. What can I do? I can go into this. Fixed fee is fixed fee. You're billing the budget. The only thing I can really do is say, hey, I want to change the percentage of the budget, percent to bill. If somebody wanted to take, 50% of that, it's going to generate that. And you can click save, and then that's the amount it would bill instead. So there's not a whole lot that can happen on a fixed fee, but you can, make a comment, bill half. It's just so they know, and we're going to save that and approve that worksheet. All right, so we've got that. Now, typically, like I said before, your master is usually going back to the billing person, but you could have this set up that this person can also view the details of the master, which is the collection of the different projects that we just had under the ones that we're doing. So these two are in review. I haven't done them yet, but I could come in here. I don't want this call to go on forever, so I'm not going to do all of them. What I'm going to do first, though, is come back here and go ahead and approve these ones. Just saying that they're okay. Now go back to the details on the actual Oh, this one has been billed. This one's in review. So what it does is just encapsulates the different items. And again, the person that has the ability to do this is going to be also able to come in and make changes on these at any time. So where it's just basically a click of the button to decide, do I need to change that back to 100%? Yes, I decided that's what it was, and save it. It's whoever's making the last change is making the final change, right? So you can have that process of going through different people to do each thing, but it will generate that master, and that master just went up to the total amount, and I didn't get these included. But again, invoice comments will go to your invoice. Worksheet comments go to the billing person, do not get printed. These kind of will be printed on the invoice itself, not print. All right, so I'm going to approve this worksheet, and let me check if there's questions right now. Yes, Krista. The master is only used. You will not always see a master, Krista. Hi. The master only is generated if you do the billing that says, I'm going to have one invoice per client, not if you generate one invoice per project. So that sometimes you won't see a master, and sometimes you will, depending on the setup you have at the client level. So the client level will determine if there's a master. So that's why sometimes there is, and sometimes there isn't, just depending. I just wanted to throw in some masters on here to show you guys how they are, they're generated with all of them inside of here. The master typically, like I said, wouldn't go to Hugh. Sorry, I messed that up. It should be going back to the other person to actually look at the master worksheet, which actually I'm not going to approve these. And you'll see from the other side that if this person didn't approve this master, when I go back to being Spicy Ginger, she will have these masters to bill also. All right, so I'm going to go out of that, and bear with me while I skip over to the ones for Spicy Ginger. Okay, so I'm just skipped over back to Spicy Ginger. I didn't mean to make it confusing, but she was also the other person that had things to do, and they were with campaigns. So I kind of wanted to look at those individually, because that also would be a little bit different depending on how your campaign is set up. But the campaign is either going to draw the information out of what your campaign is projecting with if you're doing it bill by campaign, and if it was time and materials, the time and materials that were connected to the projects could come up, or if it was bill by campaign budget. So it's depending on how you have it set up. So just this particular one, the to bill amount is just the time and material that came from the project itself. And again, I can come over here and bill it or not bill it if I want to make changes on that one, just like anything else. And then I can approve that worksheet. I think this one, let me make sure there was to bill. Let me make sure that if these were all time. Yeah, one was time. I thought I had one set up for the campaign budget to mark as billed. On. Sorry, I should have actually had this over here. Close your eyes for 1 second. Okay. On this one, it should have said to bill, and this one was, I believe, the fixed fee. And so again, the same thing happens. Oh no, it's not a fixed fee. But you can, this one, I'm sorry, I also did this one as a time and materials. But if it was fixed fee, it would be treated just like a fixed fee would be at the project level. This one again is a time and materials. So the point of this is really just the same thing. Hey, do I want to mark it as billed write-off? Has the same things that you could do on the other ones. All just for generation of this, just go, it's beyond scope and write off. So when you go back to it, you're going to see the amount to write off here. And if it's good to go, you're going to approve it. So this person that I am right now happens to also be the billing manager. So if I come through here and approve these, we'll get to the next step. And then I would be able, this goes back to me also, because I'm the person that approves his. And then I can also go, remember those 3 masters I said I wasn't going to approve. I, as the billing manager, have the ability to go into each of the masters, look at what he has approved, and make that final decision in each one of these time and materials or fixed fee, with that billing schedule. Remember this one, I said one had a billing schedule. I still have the ability to go back into the fixed fee amount and make changes to the percentage on the fixed fee if I would like to. I can see that we mark some as billed. If I didn't want that to be marked as billed for some reason, I can typically to mark as billed. I have to do this. Oh, no, I don't have to do that. Well, normally I would be able to take that off, but for some reason I'm not able to take that off right now. But these are okay. So basically you are able to go ahead before you generate the invoices, generate and approve everyone that is a master. And, or if you needed to reassign it, you could, but you want them all approved. Once you get them all approved on here, I did only create 3 invoices. So you saw me go through like 15 different projects and campaigns and stuff. Well, there's only 3 invoices on here because there are 3 masters. So each one of these for the flash, we're doing one. There's like one for the campaign, one for the, can't remember what this one was for these projects in here, and then one master for these on here. So we're going to be able to generate those all at once by just clicking this and hit generate invoices. You do have the ability to create your invoices as approved. If you don't want to create them as approved, they're going to go through another process of somebody else approving them. After you approve them as the billing manager, then they could go through and do that. And then when you want to change your project billing status, this can be changed to, you know, you're ready for final billing or whatever, you're done at that point, and you hit generate invoices. Wait for it. All right, so down in the, why are my invoices not right here? Oh, that should be in here. So these are the 3 invoices that we just talked about. We'll go ahead and print those invoices, and I should have one. And I just want to show you how they should be able to, depending on your setup, I will have 3 invoices with, hey, this one was broken out by service, and this one was just one line. This is the most typical, one line per. We did this on this one is one line per campaign. And then what was this one? Another campaign separately. So again, this is just examples of ways you can do it. So you can still break things out. Like some people want to just have everything. Here is my top line. This is the name of the project. Here is all, each line is an individual service. Here's a line of another project, and there's all the services. So this is all really determined by what we talked about earlier. You don't have to do it this way. I think more clients than not want their invoices generated a little bit simpler nowadays. Like here's each one of my campaigns, but if you could have one campaign and then all the projects under it also. So again, the generation of these is really determined, 100% determined about how you set up your client on here down into the billing section over here. One invoice per client, one line per project, or and it's different when we did it on one line per project, one line per service and item is what you saw in that first one when it was all broken out versus one line per project. So they're different depending on what you set up right here. And that's pretty much it. Now, when I go back in, so this gets lost or something, and later on I need to see this, don't forget that I can come into all my billing worksheets that have been approved and see them here and always get back to them if changes do need to be made. After the fact, it would be like, if you need to make a change, it wouldn't be to the actual worksheet because it's already been printed and done. You'd have to go back to the worksheet and unapprove the worksheet. So just to tell you how easy that is, I think I can just go flash. Let's and find that one that we just did. All right, so if I just went into one of these, oops, not that part, go back into the worksheet, you would be able to unapprove and then delete it and start over. Again, if there was a billing work schedule on that worksheet, you would be able to see it over here, and you will also see the connection to the master worksheet on this, because this is just one of the baby worksheets, right? And I can again see that these were all billed. There wasn't anything to bill on those two, but again, there's your ability to see the worksheet comments forever, not print here. And then I didn't show you, but on the actual invoice, there was the place where it showed the actual comment on the invoice. All right, so questions that I can answer. Okay, so the process really is getting practicing it. Again, the one thing to note is when you're in your billing today page and you generate billing worksheets and I hit search and I can just do a mass what's out there and see what's out there. And you just look like, yeah, okay, we'll take all of these and we'll take these 150 projects. And when you generate them, if something did happen and you were like, oops, I didn't mean to do that, because that was like way too many projects to have to go out to the people. The length of time this takes is depending on how many people it's going to go to. Just one moment. We'll wait for that. I guess I shouldn't have generated 150 worksheets at once. That was my bad. I'll be patient. We'll wait for this. All right. Worksheets in review. Here they all are. If I did mess up, remember the easiest thing to do is just come and click them, delete them. People are always afraid. I want to mention this because people are always afraid to touch this because like, oh, I'm going to delete. They think they're deleting something. These are just worksheets. They're just the cover. Just think they're nothing really happened. If I am going to go back in and generate worksheets again, guess what? They come up in the search one more time. They just keep coming up. So don't worry if you make a mistake, but try this out for each of you guys. Here's those 150. There they are again. And decide, you know, if this is going to be a process. What I would also suggest is probably going, if you're going to go through this and it is difficult the first time you do it, maybe go to support, training at workamajig.com and maybe do a training with whoever your trainer is to make sure that you have this set up correctly so it runs smoothly, because it does take quite a bit of back and forth. And especially if you put the third person as a handoff where one person approves it and then it goes to another person to approve it and then it goes back to the billing manager and then they set it up. So process is everything with Workamajig, but after you get the flow of it, either once a month, every other month or whatever, it's going to be quite simple to go through the process of, hey, what do we have to bill this month and who needs to approve these? The setup is the hardest part. So I do thank you guys for coming today. And if you have further questions, any of us can answer it at support@workamajig.com. Oh, there's a question I will come down to. Yes, Terry Gibbons, the recording will go over to you guys. And there's actually a couple other if you look in, just to mention, if you don't want to listen to me again, in our help guide, if you also just type billing worksheet and webinar, I think it will come up. There's a couple other ones in there that you can see. There's already a couple that you could watch other than the one that I'm doing today, but that will be out in about 3 to 5 days. So thank you guys very much for your time and you have a good day.